Joining us now on the program for our weekly mental health talk is Carrie Krawiec, a therapist at the Birmingham Maple Clinic. Carrie, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you as always for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you on with us as we are getting into the final holidays of the 2022 calendar year. And it's a time of the year that's often described in sort of a fanciful or magical way as people are getting back together with family, with friends, with others that they care about in their community. And with that, it explains itself in a very happy and upbeat way. But for many people, this holiday season, this is the time of the year where some of some of the more negative or lower symptoms, bluer symptoms come into play. Can you explain uh, how this comes about, this instance of holiday blues and how it affects people?
Sure. Well, what we look at this time of year is, like I said, a convergence of a lot of things. So we have the winter solstice yesterday, the darkest days of the year right now. So people who suffer from seasonal depression have been sort of getting increasingly depressed leading up to this time, and will stay that way for the next couple months. People who already have a diagnosed mental health condition, depression or anxiety, report feeling worse this time of year. Of course, we have more like kind of unhelpful eating, more carbs and more sugar, and changes to our appetite, more drinking, less sleep, more worry, more financial anxiety, more pressure to perform and be social if that's not necessarily our status quo. And all of those things kind of siphon into the next couple days and weeks.
So beyond just those general feelings of happiness that are typically there during the holiday season and some of those pressures of this time of the year, what are some other common triggers that can really send people into these holiday blues, or if they're already there, make their symptoms that much more severe?
Absolutely. Like I said, so we have all the kind of biological things I just talked about: worse eating, more drinking, less sleeping. All of those things are going to change our mood and anxiety. And then on top of it, the things that come with the holidays, maybe reflecting on years past, people who are absent or missing, losses or deaths, and feeling that kind of sadness associated with grief is going to be peak during these holiday moments. And then also, the new year coming and reflecting on goals and hopes and wishes you'd hope to accomplish, and coming up to that deadline, and feeling that sort of burden or pressure of unmet expectations for yourself, are all going to contribute.
And so there are a number of different ways that you can react to that, or that you can try to shift things around so that they're not so triggering to you or upsetting to you if you're experiencing some of these holiday blues. What strategies do you suggest, particularly when it comes to those outside pressures and whatnot that we just spoke about, from family or from friends asking you to catch up or about your goals and what you're looking forward to?
So certainly just knowing that you're normal. I think one of the biggest things, especially that plagues people with depression, is feeling internally, even if you're not isolated externally, but feeling internally like nobody understands you and you feel so alone. You look at other people and you say, everybody's experiencing this magical time and I'm not. The reality is that many people are feeling like you, and knowing that you are not alone in your experience, that the holidays really aren't more magical than any other time of the year, and the burden or pressure to make them so is one that's external, and most people are feeling plagued by it. Knowing that you're not alone is probably one of the biggest things. Knowing that your feelings are normal and really understood by a lot of people, that kind of validation and normalcy is one way to soothe yourself.
We're joined by Carrie Krawiec on today's edition of the Megacast, a therapist at the Birmingham Maple Clinic. You can call them for consultation and services, 248-646-6659. That's 248-646-6659, or send them an email, info@birminghammaple.com, the clinic located in Troy, Michigan on West Big Beaver Road. Carrie, it's also a time of the year as we get past the Christmas holiday and Hanukkah also still going on, but also get to the new year. It's a time where people are setting their goals for 2023 and are looking back on what they've accomplished or what they've been through in 2022, and that can add a whole nother element of pressure that's in most cases entirely internal as you're reflecting on where you've been in this past year and where you want to go. What's your advice for people to manage those expectations they have for themselves, but also curb maybe some feelings of disappointment if they haven't come as far this year as they may have hoped 364 days ago?
Right. So, I mean, I think the most important thing is be reasonable. So, the biggest cause of failure when it comes to setting goals is setting goals that are way too big. So, losing weight, saving money, these things are very vague. They're nearly impossible to do. Instead, setting something just very, very, very basic, like replacing your going out to eat a couple days a week with a home cooked lunch or something, right? Like something small is going to be much more achievable than something big. Looking back on your last year, ask yourself if you set yourself reasonable goals. Be kind and gracious and say, perhaps when we know better, we do better. And you'll know better for this year that a big goal, a big broad goal is unreachable. It's likely to cause depression because it can't be met, and depressed people are likely to set unreasonable goals. So the best thing you can do for yourself is be very basic. Something that you can do every day is much more likely to pass than something that's just kind of a broad stroke.
And look, we're getting together with family and with friends this holiday season. Many of them we haven't seen in a long time, and people are going back to their hometowns. Maybe they haven't seen some of their friends there that they have from growing up, or that they've seen, or that they've developed over the years in a long time. And so they're catching up. They're talking about work. They're talking about their social life. They're talking about their goals. So for us individually, what can we do? What should we be focusing on in those conversations to not put that kind of undue pressure or trigger those feelings of unease that are typical this time of the year for many people?
Sure. I mean, I think just knowing that you guys are more alike than dissimilar. I think people go into those situations thinking, "Wow, I've seen on Facebook or social media, no matter what your age, everybody's doing so well. Everybody's sent out holiday cards or things. They look amazing." And so the pressure is that everybody's doing awesome, and then you feel internally, "I'm not." The reality is much more neutralized. You're doing amazing in ways that you probably haven't showcased for yourself, even if you've broadcasted to the world, and you've also had some hard knocks, and that's true for everybody else, right? So everything's more neutral, even if they haven't had the exact same experiences. You've had something similar happen over the last 1, 2, 3 years where you're probably doing about the same as everyone else, not better, not worse, and same to them, to you.
Joined by Carrie Krawiec from the Birmingham Maple Clinic on today's edition of the Megacast. You can find more information on their services and get in contact with them at 248-646-6659. Their website, birminghammaple.com, or send them an email, info@birminghammaple.com. That's birminghammaple.com for more information. Carrie, at this time of the year, are there any other common ailments that we tend to see being discussed in mental health with mental health professionals as we get toward the end of the year that we haven't discussed yet today, but people should be keeping in mind as they get into these final holidays of 2022?
Sure. I think like you and I discussed a few weeks ago with Thanksgiving, it might be time where people are seeing friends and family that they haven't seen, and maybe there's questions arising. How is this person doing? Either, is it an eating disorder? Are you seeing some change in behavior that's maybe concerning? So it's certainly a time that you might be assessing these things. It's probably not the time in a family setting to bring them up. So you might just kind of keep note of it and then save it for perhaps a private moment or an intimate moment that doesn't include confronting someone. If you have some questions about substance abuse or drinking, if you have some questions about depression or perhaps suicide, or like I said, eating disorders or that, it's perhaps important to address those with that person, but not in the moment that's in front of other people or would be confrontational or humiliating in a holiday setting. Save that, for a private moment. Set aside time and address those people privately.
248-646-6659 or birminghammaple.com to get in contact with Carrie and the other professionals at the Birmingham Maple Clinic. Carrie, thank you so much for joining us as always.
Always, thank you for having me.